everybody. How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk about the emotional root of the manifestation of this coronavirus. And I'm going to try to make it short and sweet. Hey, Wendy. Tag your friend. I'm going to upload this on YouTube, and then it'll be shareable for people that aren't in the group. It is bright. I'm soaking up that light. Soaking it up. Okay, I'm going to tag some peeps. Let's see if anyone can join. Alright. How have you been doing during this amazing time to reflect and go deeper inward? How are you dealing with it? Miss Wendy Pan. Wendy and I have been friends for a long time. How long now, Pan? Since 2004, I think. So that's exciting. I'm just tagging some people. I think this time has been incredible. This time's been incredible for me. Hi, Gary. How you doing, love? Gosh, it is like really way bright, but it won't be that bright for too long. Okay. So, before I get started, I want to make sure that everyone who's watching is following me on YouTube under Metaphysical Misfits. It's kind of like a family blog. It's a whole, I'm working on it. But, and then I also have a group that I ran for a long time, and then shit got crazy, and so I took a break, and there's been a lot of interest in it recently, so I decided to start up again. And it's The Anatomy of Spirit, The 7 Stages of Power and Healing by Carolyn Miss. And it is an amazing, life-altering read. And so we are going to start on an online book club. We're going to be doing it through Zoom. We'll meet once a week in the afternoon during lunchtime. Well, later in the lunch hour. And between 12 and 2. I'm still nailing down the exact time. And we are going to literally read through the book and then just discuss it. And we're going to assign ourselves the homework that the book is asking us to do. And we're going to grow and learn and understand a lot more. We'll learn how to claim our own power and how to manifest a healing experience for ourselves. It's amazing. So the group is called Anatomy of Spirit. And I'll share it in the link below. So there's my shameless plugs. Okay. So the emotional root. Okay, as we've discussed before, every manifestation of a physical symptom has an emotional root to it. The way things are manifested in this realm, it happens in thought first, and then it manifests physically. As the vibration becomes more active and more active, it has more of a chance of manifesting. And that could mean through your family line, through your ancestors, or it could mean in this life for you or a past life for you. But somewhere, somehow, the presence of this emotional root will develop a physical manifestation. And hi, Stacy. Love you. I hope you're enjoying this amazing energy. So as with, so the coronavirus, which I don't know if anyone's been watching my feed. I'm not even really saying the word because I want to be mindful of where I'm sending my energy, but for the sake of this, we're gonna use the word. So we can go through things collectively, and what's been happening over a period of time is that our planet has been raising its vibration with the intent of healing itself, just like how we would want to rid ourselves of the virus, so does the planet want to rid herself of a virus. And unfortunately, that's those of us right now that are choosing to participate in all levels of toxicity, and that comes in thoughts, that comes in food choices, who you surround yourself with. All kinds of things will help determine your vibration. And so the way that ancestral work will help us is if you understand the concept that while you're forming in your mother's womb, right, you're actually forming your grandchildren, right? Wait, is that right? I always get it backwards. Whenever you're forming in your mother's womb, whenever your mother is forming, whenever your mother is forming in your grandmother's womb, you're also being formed, because women are born with their, with all of the eggs that they're going to have. So while your mother's being formed, and while she's taking on all of the emotional experiences and DNA and ancestral stuff, ancestral knowledge, while she's taking all of that and being formed, you're also being formed. So when we're talking about trauma from our ancestors, you can understand that how it would pass through. Hopefully that clarifies it a little bit. So not only are we transmuting our own stuff, but we're transmuting stuff that our parents and our grandparents weren't able to, or didn't know how to heal, didn't have the opportunity. And that's what is happening right now collectively. Things are being brought to the surface because it's time to work on them. And the way the body shows us where we need to work, because it is an electrical communication device, is where you will have the physical manifestation. So there's 3 parts to the emotional root of the coronavirus. The first is the lungs. So this will include also if you have asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, obviously, lung cancer or tuberculosis, anything that affects the lungs, this is gonna also apply to that. But specifically for the coronavirus, this is what the lungs, they communicate grief, old sorrow, depression, and deep fears. Feeling unsafe to grieve. Okay, and feel sorrow. So I can understand this very closely because I just lost my father. I didn't lose him. He transitioned into the next plane. I know where he is. He's not really lost. I just miss him. And it's an odd feeling, grief, because there isn't really room in our society. It's one of those things where if you're not going through it yourself, or if you haven't gone through it, it's really hard to empathize what it feels like and what kind of space is needed for someone to properly grieve. Also, the way our society is set up is just not sustainable. We don't have time to grieve, nor do we even sometimes have the words to express the grief. So if you think about what's going on in the world, everyone is grieving. Everyone has been talking about how difficult things were, to the point where there was a whole thing now with, everyone's like 2020 is going to be better than 2019, and now shit, So we're ready to look at the grief And we don't even really need to do anything with it. We just need and want to look at it. Look at our own grief, okay? Because when we look at our own stuff and heal it, we raise our vibration and that trickles out, right? It'll inspire other people to look at their grief and their sorrow. So if some ideas are doing guided meditations for grief and sorrow. Sitting with and allowing yourself to think and feel the grief and sorrow that you have. A lot of us too, as empaths, can process for people grief and sorrow. And right now it's an uncomfortable time, I know, but this is the time to anchor in. This is the time where we're shifting. This is the time to use the skills that we've been talking about this whole time, right? So we want to feel it, to heal it, release it, let it go, send it into the light, and raise our vibration. So it also, of course, naturally, anytime we have issues with our lungs, it comes with inhaling toxins. And toxins are a big part of our healing, because a virus is what happens when your body has been poisoned, okay? It is the body's way of getting rid of the toxin, okay? It tries to separate from itself. Now, this also relates to the division that we have in our society that's happening right now. If you're looking, there is a definite difference in the thought of people who are buying into the fear, and I do, with full respect, understand this can be scary. There's a difference between acknowledging that you're afraid and living in it, and soaking it up and watching the news. And listen, y'all know how bad it is. You don't need to be on the fucking news. Get off of the news. You are making yourself feel worse, and it's the self-sabotage, which is a cycle in and of itself. You know what's going on. You know people are dying. You know all of these things. The more that you have this coronavirus in your face, watching even the memes, the more that you keep this name even active. Like I said, I normally don't use the word or address it in any way because I don't want to draw attention to it, but we're using it for the sake of this discussion. And to say, oh, I need to be kept up to date, that's bullshit. And y'all know that's bullshit, because we've already seen the path. We already know what's going on. If you are focusing on taking care of you, then you don't need to be paying attention to anything else. Stop torturing yourself, okay? It's reinforcing the grief. It's reinforcing the sorrow. It's reinforcing the suffering. And when you sit in fear and you're watching the news and you're watching all of these people suffer and you're thinking about how they're suffering, you are not helping. You are not helping. You are holding them locked in a vibration of dis-ease. What we want to do is hold the picture of all of the people who have been affected by this virus in their healthiest form, in their highest form, full of light, full of love. Because by us sitting here and freaking the fuck out, we are really making the situation worse. We have got to. This is the time to harness your ability to control your mind. Be mindful. Everyone has time to meditate right now. You don't have an excuse. You can get an insight timer on your phone and do 5-minute meditations a day. I do them with my kids, and they are 11 and 13, and if they can do it, you can do it. There's no excuses. Level up. Right? Process this shit. So many people are like, oh my God, I'm alone and I don't have anything to do. You have lots to do. Dig into yourself. Stop numbing out. Stop just numbing out on TV and magazines and news. Knock it the fuck off, because you're making it worse. You're making it worse. So we want to be careful and mindful of the toxins that we're taking in, because that's going to exacerbate our own personal issue. And that's going to exacerbate everyone else's issues. So, yes, insight timer is the shit, Stacy. So, when we can limit toxins in our life in the various forms, then we can help raise our vibration, right? And then as a collective, that'll affect all of us as a collective. So, it's important to remember, if we really want to make a difference, what we can do to make a difference is be mindful of our energy. Lungs also relate to, or they tighten when they're frightened. There's shallow breath when you're angry and depressed, and negative emotions can also impact the lungs. People are so accustomed sometimes to the conditions of having their lungs compromised that they don't even realize it anymore, because we're so like desensitized to the fact that we don't feel good, you know, that we're not breathing. Most of us walk around and we're not even breathing. We're not using our belly. We're not taking in, you know, that's not how our bodies are intended to work, you know, but it's happened over such a long period of time that we don't even realize we're having these things, and we're not told that, hey, your body is a communication device between your higher self and you, guiding you towards what emotions, what traumas it's time to process so that you can level up and be who you came here to be. And this is the time. Anchor in, dig in, come on. Like, this is a huge shift right now. Ride the wave. Stacy, I don't know how you would share it because it's in a private group right now, but you can tag people in it, I think. And I have it set up so anyone can approve a member. And so I think you would have to have them do that. And then, I don't know, I wish I had more answers for you. So it also deals with, again, we're talking about the lungs, separation trauma. Now, separation trauma, some people are like, oh, but I had a great childhood and my mom was great. I know like probably 5 people like that, but sometimes the trauma doesn't occur at home, you know? And in that case, I remind you that there is a separation trauma. There is the source, the illusion of the separation, right? That happens when we come here. Whether it is an actual separation or not, our perception when we get here is that we are separated from God. That will cause separation anxiety. That will cause all kinds of things to happen. When someone has separation trauma, it will manifest into codependency or narcissism, right? So we have tons of that floating around in our society. So we can see that. You know, we can see this reflected in our community around us. You know, our insides are reflected on our outsides. So when we see chaos outside of us, that is our sign. Oh, shit's fucked in here. I'm trying not to cuss as much. I'm so sorry. Things are messed up in here and it's time to clean house. Just like when I was absolutely batshit crazy and I couldn't tell the difference. I didn't know what was going on. One of the ways that I could tell then, and now still use to this day as an indicator on what my health is how I'm keeping my environment, or what's showing up in my environment. If my kids are yelling at each other all of the time, I look at myself, am I yelling all of the time? Because I may be the example of that. You know, am I complaining all of the time? That may be why I'm feeling shitty. You know what I mean? So am I not practicing self-care, and so I'm not finding the love that I'm looking for in the world around me. You know, there's a lot of reasons why. Sorry. My throat is sore from the pollen. I feel like people are like, oh no, you can't cough or sneeze. It's allergy season, guys, relax. So we have an attachment wound, and that is coming up right now, right? As a society, we have a concept that we were separated from God. The shift is becoming aware that there is no separation, right? There is no separation. And we can do all kinds of things to help shift through this, you know, as I've said before. And so, Corona. Oh, yeah, Corona! Somebody sneezes in the store, everyone's like, so if we really want to look at our own separation anxiety, because this is the way we step into our power with this. We have a choice. Everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. You just have to be willing to rein the crazy brain in, you know? I keep telling people it's like trying to constantly redirect a toddler that's trying to play in traffic, you know? It just has no idea that what it's doing is not helpful, and you have to just keep redirecting it. And that's how it is with our brain, you know? You got to be aware and mindful and just keep bringing it back, right? Keep bringing it back to what feels good, what allows you to experience joy, and what raises your vibration, which sometimes temporarily you feel like shit, you know what I mean? But that's the difference between processing something and letting it go and staying in the shit. You know what I mean? Lots of things are coming up. And the awesome thing is we don't even really have to do much other than look at it. When I talk about it, it helps a little bit more. And then I'll have the symptoms, you know, lift. We can process things for the collective. We can sit, we can intentionally ground ourselves, anchor ourselves, go up to source energy and command healing be done, you know, for the grief and sorrow, and to release the shock and trauma of our planet. So everyone has separation wounds, and I'm not a super big fan of Teal Swan, but she's got some really great stuff on separation anxiety, as does Candice Dell, D-E-L-L. You can find her on YouTube. So also, something that you'll easily see reflected in our society that relates to the lungs is having to fight for your freedom and feeling restricted. How many of you guys, and I'm sure everyone in the world, has been feeling like they have to fight for their freedom? I know here in Florida, we have to fight for the right to grow food in our front yard. Or to practice permaculture principles, or to, I can't even send, like, if we're trying to cut down on using glass or using plastic, I can't send in little glass mason jars, which, like, God forbid something breaks and kids learn how to clean up glass. So there's lots of ways that we can feel and do feel restricted. And I would say in China, I mean, they're pretty freaking restricted. So understand that because of quantum entanglement, our atoms can be separated, and when one is affected, then the other is also affected. So we can have atoms in other places, other dimensions, and other countries at the same time, all over the place. And when one is affected, the other is affected. So that means if that atom experiences an illness or sickness or whatever, then the other atom is going to. And that also means that if we heal one, we can heal another, you know? So what are the ways that we can embrace our freedom? What are the ways that we can find empowerment for ourselves? One of the things that I did to empower myself and to put my sovereignty into practice is we started to grow a little garden with food. That made me feel better. My freedom, another way that I work on my freedom is I allow myself the space to do what I need to do, and I don't take no for an answer, which some people could say that that's frustrating, but that's how I am. Also, the lungs relate to being disconnected to the joy in life. And that pretty much goes across the board, that people have been disconnected from their joy. We end up being slaves to working for somebody else, slaves to paying our rent, slaves to toxic relationships, and things like that. And so we've ended up becoming disconnected from our joy in life. And when we are connected to our joy in life, things come out of inspiration. Everything just kind of snowballs, and it's a really beautiful process. However, we've gotten in the habit of not only not allowing ourselves to feel joy, but also continuing the cycles that prevent us from feeling joy. And so when we are experiencing lung issues, as is the collective, the reflection is that we want to find joy in our life. It's always the opposite. If we're feeling something, if the issue is grief, then it's, doing what you have to do to process grief. If the issue is a lack of joy, listen, the fastest way to raise your vibration of joy is to laugh. Watch some stand-up comedy, get outside and play, act like a kid, build a fort, have fun, be silly. These things, this is a way to biohack. Joy is one of the highest vibrations. Joy, love, peace. It's joy is right above or right below enlightenment. No, dang it, I can't remember. Don't quote me. But it's right up there. And so, if we're sick, and we want to get from here to homeostasis, the fastest way for us to do that is to practice joy. It'll raise you right up. And every time you jump out of that joy, either there's something there to heal, there's something there to look at that needs your attention, or it's your monkey mind and you just gotta bring it back to center. Nope, what do I want? What goodness do I want? Because really, we're expressing what we don't want. When we express what we do want, if I want joy and peace, then the obvious is I don't want, misery. So it's a choice. You have to be mindful of the way that you're speaking. Your words speak things into existence, okay? And all of this stuff is backed up in the Bible. I'm not a Bible person, but it is, So, it's also related to shame, which I feel goes back to the shame of experiencing sorrow and grief and about feeling that. The Betsy, the lungs relate to I believe it's the solar plexus chakra. I'm 90% sure. If it is not the solar plexus, it's the heart chakra. So there's also this fear of dying attached to the lungs, being overly sensitive due to childhood trauma. That's going to be true for most of us because that's what we came here to heal, is the childhood trauma. Most of us were born into really traumatic experiences, which gave us a lot of opportunity to learn how to heal, right? And now here we are, healed, able to help other people heal. And that's like the circle of life. And it's fucking beautiful. So we want to understand that when we're feeling these things, it's okay. It's good. It's good. Let it come up. Be uncomfortable. Sit with it. Let it go. And know that the healing is already done. Okay? It also, okay, so that was the lungs. And it also relates always, anytime there's inflammation, it always relates to anger. So we're looking at guilt, shame, and anger, right? Sorrow, deep sorrow. There's an exercise we can do if you would like. It's called the heart song. I can walk you through it, and it's a way that we process grief. There's also forgiveness practice or a session, a forgiveness session that we can do if there's resentment there. So just let me know. How long have it doesn't say how long I've been going, but that was the lungs. We're going to go into the virus now. All right, so again, as within, so without. We are seeing around us with this vibration a reflection of our inner workings, right? This is what we as a collective are working on so that we can raise our vibration, because when we raise our vibration, we are not a detriment to the earth. We naturally don't do things like deplete the earth, blow up things, speak shitty to each other, mine the earth. So, kill animals, inhumanely or kill them at all for our own gain. But that's a topic for another day, and so this is how we can we can heal by healing these things inside our health, ourself. So virus is related to battling out our worthiness issues. And I don't care who you are, you got worthiness issues. We all do. Our work's 29 minutes. Cool. Okay. Will you let me know when I'm like 10 minutes from an hour? I don't want to go too long because then people won't be able to focus. There's only so much you can handle of this. So, by the way, you guys like my new hair color? I did it darker this time. Anyway. So, all of us have this concept that our worth is tied to our work. And part of the ascension process is understanding that your worthiness is, period. You are worthy. We are worthy. We've been lied to. We've been conditioned to believe otherwise. And so these things, in order for us to move into a society, a new earth, where we are not working jobs just because we believe it's what we have to do, or if we don't provide for our family at this job, then we're not worthy, or if we don't push our, you know what I mean? So if we, thank you, Betsy, yay! So if we understand and work through our own worthiness issues, which are also related to giving and receiving, then wow, so much happens when you work on your worthiness stuff. And I'm not sure if I've done videos on it, but I'm definitely working on doing more videos. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to do my lives on here and then upload them on my YouTube channel, Metaphysical Misfits. And then once I get my subscribers up to a certain amount, I'll be able to go live on my mobile. And right now I can't do that, and I don't want to tote around my laptop. So anyway, I went through this when I got really sick and I couldn't work, and everyone treated me like I was a burden, and it was making me feel horrible. And so as a way to empower myself, I said, well, if other people are, if I feel like a burden, then what that's showing me is I want to become self-reliant and self-sufficient. And so, okay, well, what steps can I take to take inspired action to do those things, and to empower yourself, because you know what you need. You're just avoiding it. So childhood trauma, of course, feeling smothered, again, freedom, and having to fight for what you want, always being on guard. These are virus. And again, it's inflammation, so it's going to relate every time to anger and resentment as well. Feeling depleted and drained. It's also blaming others for our circumstances, which a lot of us do. It's one of the indoctrinations that it's time to unpack. Because of the separation trauma and the divide into codependency or narcissism personalities, we have gotten into this place where we're not owning our own responsibility. We're not taking ownership over not just the decisions that we've made, but how the consequences have played out. We want to blame it on, oh, well, it's his fault that I'm miserable because he's not treating me right. Well, with all due respect, you're the one that's staying in the relationship. Oh, well, it's this job because my boss is a jerk. Well, maybe that's guidance that it's time to find another job. Our experience outward will communicate what we need on the inside. And so one of the things is learning, there's a book, Nonviolent Communication. There's a book, Codependent No More by by Melody Beattie. Also in this book, we deal with separation anxieties and things like that as well. And so as we work on our worthiness issues and the give and receiving of the energy, and so that we're not feeling so depleted and drained, we will see a lift and a shift in our life, and we will see that reflected in the environment. What happens is we make the changes. My cat is about to... Don't go. Don't you. No. Hey. Come on in here. You leave that doggy alone. My cat's ready to pounce on this dog that just walked by. Don't do it. So the way that it happens is we observe our environment, and if it's an unpleasant environment, then that's our cue. Oh, I want to choose differently here because what I've been choosing up until this point has created this experience. I want a better experience for myself in each moment and overall. I know the way that I can manifest a better experience is reigning in my mind right now and focusing on what I want and making that the active vibration. Instead of buying into the fear and all of that, buy into what I want. What I want is to see health. What I want is to see vibrance. What I want is to see a balanced body. What I want is to see cooperation, and what I want is to see love, peace, harmony, joy. I want to see a world where we are living sustainably. I want to see a world where we respect animals the way we respect people. I want to live in a world where, children have a space to be children. These are the things that I'm focusing on. And every time I realize I'm feeling anxious or oh God, someone brought up the virus or whatever, I redirect my mind to, wait, there's no virus. There's emotional root. We are well. Our body is just communicating that there's some trauma that we're ready to address personally and collectively. It also relates to becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. Again, it goes back to we've experienced so much trauma, we've become desensitized to the communication, and we don't even realize our lungs are struggling anymore because we've been breathing toxins for so long. It's that kind of a thing. We've become comfortable being in traumatic situations because it reminds us of our childhood trauma, when what we really want is to look at the situations we're creating and when did that start? It always started in your childhood, and going back and healing that. And when you heal that, your circumstances will change, right? When you heal your shit, your circumstances change. And I promise you get to the point where it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, you are in peace. Right now the world is gone mad, and I am the happiest I've ever been because I'm choosing to be mindful of what I'm allowing in my experience because I want a good experience. And this brings me to a meditation that I had the other day. I have conversations, I channel messages, and basically the long and the short of it is I was telling source energy or my higher self or whatever the fuck it is that I kind of had guilt around being joyous in a time where so many are suffering. And that the message that came back was why would you want to hold anyone in a lower vibration? If your thoughts create your reality, you need to understand that being in a place of joy is the best thing you can do for people. Allowing, being the example that you can be in these circumstances and not allow the indoctrination of misery to take over you. You know what I mean? And by us choosing those vibrations, we're healing everything, So there's also pneumonia. And it all basically relates to the same thing. It all relates to feeling sensitive towards people's behavior. It comes from being invaded and feeling powerless, trapped, controlled. These are all things that we are feeling collectively. This is why this is a pandemic, because it is collectively bringing this up. our vibration is raising. In order for us to raise our vibration, we have to address the things that are lowering vibration, physically, mentally, spiritually, right? And so when you'll see, if you look back now, you'll see like there was kind of a wave that started, right? There was like this little bit of a warning. Some of us jumped on the bandwagon before other people. We were like, oh shit, there's a shift coming and I can feel it. So I'm gonna get a head start on this, right? And so we had kind of a head start, and then there was a time period where you could shift up easily, you know? And if you didn't, then there came a time where the earth shifted, and you know, chaos usually ensued for a little bit, and then we would get used to that vibration, and the planet shift up again, and things get a little crazy, because every time the planet raises its vibration, we raise our vibration, and there's like a reverb between the vibration where we were and the vibration of the planet. And in this reverb is where we are in our contrast. It's where we are looking at, you know, the stuff that needs to be let go of and healed in order to accept, you know, our new reality. And that's what's going on right now, right? We want to look at this stuff, we want to heal it, so we can, it's already created. That vibration, that higher vibration, that heaven on earth is already created. We just have to remove the obstacles between where we are now and where we want to be, you know. And I'm going to do more videos on how we can do this. Right now, let's focus on allowing ourselves to feel joy. Let's practice holding our planet in love and light. Let's practice not watching the media all of the time. I'm actually hiding people that are just talking about the manifestation of the virus, because we don't need to give it focus, you know. If we really want to hear, and that's not ignoring it. I'm not saying ignore it. There's things going on. People's family might be ill, but there's a difference between knowing something's going on and obsessing over it, right? So now regarding children, just a note, if it's a child that has been dealing with this, it means the trauma there is that they're feeling held back and controlled, which a lot of children feel because they come in knowing what they're here for. They come in knowing what they're supposed to do. And then the world says, oh no, you can't do that. And so you'll see younger children dealing with respiratory infections a lot, you know, and it's just a process of them working through, you know, trauma of feeling controlled and restricted. Sometimes that can happen in the womb if there wasn't enough space for the baby. It's also the children, as we were talking about earlier, when we're being formed in our mother is being formed in our grandmother. And so we can pass down that trauma. And if our parents had unresolved trauma with the lungs, again, grief, sorrow, which, I mean, all of our ancestors had that. That's, again, why we're dealing with this collectively. And so our kids can be dealing with our unresolved trauma. And when we heal for ourselves, we heal for them too. So, it's not one of those things where if trauma is passed on to your child and you can see it, or you can see reflections, you know. And it's not one of those things where it's like you can't fix it, you know. If you work on it yourself, you'll break the chain, the cycle, the energetic, cycle in your family. It relates to marital and parental issues. A lot of children are sensitive to their parents' mood because a lot of children right now are born as light workers, as empaths. And so they don't understand. I'm actually writing a children's program to help little misfits understand that a lot of them are air filters, energy, emotion filters. And I help them understand that, like, not all of the feelings they feeling are theirs. Sometimes they're processing the feelings in their home, or like right now, the feelings of the consciousness. So taking on too much stress of the parents, feeling overly responsible, suppressed grief, worthiness, and working long hours, or feeling controlled and trapped by a dominant figure. Again, a lot of kids deal with that, and that's why they'll, with or without this manifestation, they will experience a lot of respiratory issues. And those are things we can work on as parents. We can figure out how to motivate our child instead of control them into doing what we want to do. But so how do we shift our vibration? I think I've been on here long enough, and so I am going to do another live stream that will cover how we can shift our vibration. I made a few suggestions in the video. So, focus on joy, laughter, playing, whatever you can do to make yourself giggle. If you're angry at someone, my favorite thing to do is, I imagine pinching them right here and them going, ah! And the look on their face just makes me giggle inside, and then boom, I'm up in joy. Like, your joy doesn't have to be everyone else's joy. It has to be true for you. And as long as you're not, I'm not really wanting ill will on anyone. I'm just wanting them, have a little bit of relief. So reach for the thoughts that bring relief. Allow yourself to be happy, even in times of chaos, because that is what is going to shift. Focusing on the fear is going to create more fear. We create our realities. Eat high vibration foods. The highest vibration food there is fruit. It is karmically free, and it is photonic, okay? Highest vibration, right? It gifts itself to us. It falls to the earth. Vegetables are also a high vibration. They come with karma because most of the time, we're picking it, we're taking away. But still, fruits and vegetables are the highest vibration. If you live in an area where you can't find fresh fruits and vegetables, if you go to the Hispanic part in your supermarket, they have these frozen pulps, mango, passion fruit, all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna start doing little smoothie videos so you guys can see the smoothies that I do. So those are ways to raise your vibration. Of course, we can do theta sessions if you want to make an appointment. I am realizing I can only do one theta session a week because it kind of depletes me right now while I'm building up my energy. So if you book, just know I'm spacing them out a little bit. And just one more reminder to join the book club, the Anatomy of the Spirit. And we're going to start next week, and we're going to have it once a week. We're going to have it on Zoom, and then I'll share the Zoom in the group, and we can discuss, in the comments and whatnot. And I think that's it. If anyone has any questions or wants to philosophize, please feel free to message me. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. I hope you choose thoughts that bring relief. I hope you allow yourself to be happy, joyous, free. I hope you consume, information and food that helps you grow, and allow this time to be a time where you better yourself, anchor in, and understand that you matter. You matter. You matter. You make a difference. Your vibration matters. Your experience matters. It's what makes up collectively this whole experience. And so many of us as empaths, we want to help other people. Understand that loving yourself and reaching a place of joy is the best and most effective way to help other people around you. I know it's hard. I know it's scary. Your life is going to change. You're going to go through some shit namis. If you can remind yourself that contrast and those shit namis are the perfect moment to manifest what you want, to choose differently, to redirect your life, you can do this. You can do this. I just watched other people, and I started to do what they did. And year by year, it didn't happen quickly, you know, year by year. I just tried. And if you just do what someone else has done, if it resonates with you, even if it's not me, eventually what will happen is you'll get to a place where you'll receive messages and you'll know what you're supposed to be doing. So allow yourself this space. And heart chakra. Thank you. Yes, that's what the whole thing was, Pixie, that it's related to deep grief, feeling restricted, having to fight for our freedom, having shame around feeling sorrow and grief, so yeah, I'll let you guys continue talking. I'm going to hop off because I've been on for quite a while. And the next video will be how to shift your vibration easily. We'll dive into more ideas. But I love you. I wish you so much love and light. And I remind you to choose love in the face of adversity and to stay calm in the chaos. Have a great night.